15 a day. A study on loneliness and isolation showed that lack of connection kills as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. On top of that, Harvard has made a study that shows that the one factor that leads to a long and happy life is the quality of your relationships. Welcome! My name is Daniel, and today you will learn how to not die out of loneliness by fostering connections with people. Here's a short story. Some time ago I was exchanging letters with a girl from my country, and after a couple of exchanges I see that we don't have a connection between us, and I think, why is that? She seems like a nice girl. Why do we not connect with each other? And when I thought about it, I saw that there were two things that we'll cover in this video that were lacking in our conversations, and a third thing that was a bonus that contributed to the overall interaction. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Some time ago, I was talking through a phone with a friend of mine, and I asked him, "So, what have you been up to lately?" And he says, "Well, I've created this new paper game. I was in a cinema with my brother. I've watched a new video on YouTube that's quite interesting. And I know he likes creating those paper games that he can play on a piece of paper, and I know he gets really invested in creating that. So I asked him, "Hey, would you mind telling me more about this game?" And literally, for the next hour straight, he talks about this game, about all those mechanics he implemented there, about his playthrough with a younger brother in this game, and he brings so much enthusiasm that even I was smiling in this conversation. So, the first thing that helps in building connections with people is asking them questions, because if you want to move the conversation forward and not overthink it too much, you have to ask questions. But what does this story shows? When you ask the other person, when you get curious about the things that they are passionate about, that's when the whole conversation just brightens up. So ask about the things other people are interested in, the things they are passionate about. But if we would only talk about the things other people are interested in, that would make us closer to becoming people pleasers, which we don't want to do. So, there's another thing. Quite some time ago, I was on a cycling trip with a friend of mine. And she's a girl who sings, who deals with music composition, who learns Japanese, who sews, but any of those aren't the things I deal with. Well, maybe except singing between meals. But I am interested in learning new skills. So I asked her, "Hey, how do you come around learning Japanese? how do you find motivation to keep going? How do you keep it high? And as she answers, it is me this time who has a lot of fun and enjoyment during the conversation. So, why asking the other person about their passions? Try to ask them also about the topics you're interested in. And if you find someone who's interested in the things you are interested, now you've hit a bullseye. I had a talk, like I was on an event, where I've met this man named Daniel, the same way I am named. And after talking with him for a while, we quickly came to see that I'm into physical activities and he's into physical activities. So after only one meeting, we decided to meet up for a short run, and later on, it became a small group of runners from my local hood. So it's great to meet people like that. But if we would only ask questions to people, that wouldn't be good either. There was this one time when I used to be a volunteer in a children's club, and one time a boyfriend of my acquaintance came there, so I decided to get to know him. And as we stand in a hall where we played football, the only thing I do is throw more and more and more questions at him. And later on, when his girlfriend asked him, how was the talk? How was the conversation? All he could remember, all he told her was, this guy seems like a reporter. So only asking questions isn't good. That's why we want to tell something ourselves. And for that, a great tool is telling stories. I like telling stories, but in general, they help people know us better than if we would say a dry fact about ourselves. For example, if a friend of mine asked me, Daniel, what have you been up to lately? I could say, well, this weekend I was on a cycling trip. Or I could say, you know what, this weekend I was on a cycling trip and I wanted to find an Indian village. Spoiler, I didn't find it. But as I stand on a market, face all red from the sun, I see a figurine for sale. I look at it and it's a figurine of a bronze horse connected to a crafted piece of wood. And I think, wow, my mom will love it. So I buy it, and as I thank the seller, I take literally 3 steps away from the station and bump into something. And I look down on the figurine that's still in my hand. And I see it's disconnected from the piece of wood that it was standing on. And I think at it with dead eyes and think, I could have paid attention to where I'm going. Now, that's a whole different thing, the whole different answer to the question, what have you been up to lately? And one more thing about stories is that they aid in building connection by allowing you to open up to someone in a safe way. Looking at the story with a horse figurine, was I a bit vulnerable there? Did I open up? Definitely. Did I say anything that was sensitive? Not at all. So, if you tell those micro stories from your day, your week, maybe even your month, it will be a safe way for you to open up to people and connect with them nicely. One more thing, a bonus that I've talked about before. When going into conversations, like interactions with people, instead of thinking, do they like me? Think, do I enjoy the time with them? Because, tell you what, you can adjust yourself to meet other people's preferences, but if you feel anxious, repressed, that would miss the goal we have, the we aim at. Really, seriously. So, if you'll be a decent human being and you do the things we've talked about before, that is, ask questions and storytell a bit about yourself, I guarantee you, you will meet people who like you for you. So, with that, I encourage you to go out into the world and build new connections with people or foster the ones you already have.